What kind of man gets exiled to the edge of the world, looks at a rocky hillside full of slaves pretending to work, and thinks, perfect, this is that man. And what he builds next will make every king on this continent regret forgetting he existed. His name is Roman Crackscale, illegitimate son of Duke Crackscale, one of 3 grand nobles sitting just below the Black Iron King himself. The Crackscale name carries real weight in this world. Their ancestor once drove an arrow clean through a fire dragon's scales, nearly killing the beast outright. Generations of legend, centuries of noble blood, and Roman's reward for carrying that name is a rocky basin called Skag Town with 50 slaves, and a panicking farm manager. The manager's name is Moore, and he rolled down a hill to greet his new lord, literally rolled, full human bowling ball energy, sweating before he even stood up. Moore had days of warning that an actual noble was coming, and the best he pulled together was a half-cleared patch of dirt with no house, no manor, not even a decent shed. He stood there stuttering apologies, convinced Roman was mentally calculating where to bury the body. Roman wasn't angry. Roman was looking at the rolling hills, the thick forest, the wide clean river, and thinking, this place is perfect. Everyone who watched Roman get shipped off to this forgotten corner thought he'd been punished. They were wrong. Roman chose this. He negotiated his inheritance from his father, demanded his own land, and pointed himself toward the most remote, overlooked territory in the entire duchy. He didn't come here to play noble. He came here to play farmer. And the universe chose that exact moment to agree with him. Text appeared in his vision like the world's most dramatic notification. Game loaded. Neural link established. Consciousness awake. Would you like to create your destiny? Here is everything you need to know about Roman Crackscale in his previous life. He was a high schooler who literally gamed himself to death. He died grinding a mobile game called Noah's Ark instead of studying for his college exams. Yes, he knows. No, he does not want to talk about it. Then he woke up as a baby noble in a medieval fantasy world, which should have been spectacular, except everything here smells terrible. And the aristocrats are all corrupt parasites. Even his own family, the mighty Crackscale bloodline, are basically fancy leeches with a cool ancestor story. But that mobile game followed him across the reincarnation. It just took 16 years to finish loading. 16 years. The moment it finally booted up, Roman created his destiny profile. That is what players are called in Noah's Ark. And the game immediately delivered its first cruel joke. The only unlocked feature was called Life's Breath mode. Farming simulator, chopping trees, mining rocks, pulling weeds. The combat system locked, the strategy mode locked. The summoning system, where you pull powerful warrior characters called apostles, locked. Daily login gives 100 crystals. Summoning one apostle cost 160. There is no beginner bonus. The game handed him a hoe and said good luck, loser. Roman named his territory Origin because he is sentimental like that, and the game mapped it perfectly onto his real land. One lonely pixel farmer standing on rolling digital hills. That pixel farmer is him, the exiled lord with a farming simulator running in the back of his skull. Meanwhile, Moore had been apologizing for 3 straight minutes while Roman stood completely motionless, reading game menus in his own head. Moore had convinced himself the silence meant execution. He was mentally picturing himself stripped naked and thrown into a pig pen. Roman finally tuned back in and told Moore he needed a roof tonight. Moore promised a manor in half a month. Too slow. 10 days. Still too slow. So Roman did what no medieval noble had done in recorded history. He took off his coat, rolled up his sleeves, picked up a log that for slaves were struggling to carry, and started building. Moore nearly fainted. My lord, you cannot perform manual labor. He screamed it like Roman had just committed a war crime against the concept of aristocracy. Roman looked him dead in the eye. Depends on whether I get a good night's sleep tonight. Moore grabbed the wood and started helping. Floating in Roman's vision, building experience. 1 out of 100. Everything else 0. Time to start grinding again. The game system works simply enough. Do things in real life. Earn experience points. Build a house. Get building experience. Plant crops. Get planting experience. Level up a skill, earn crystals. 500 crystals for hitting level 2. That is 3 full summons. Roman had busted his body all day and earned 10 building points out of 100 needed. But here is the beautiful part. Every single experience point downloads real construction knowledge directly into his brain. By nightfall, Roman was working like a man with months of experience. One person doing the work of 10. The slaves genuinely confused about which side of the social hierarchy they were on. He threw up 5 wooden cabins before dark, ugly as sin. Gaps in the walls wide enough to let winter in. Slanted roofs that would not survive serious rain. Roman looked at them with complete satisfaction. Built with his own hands. Chef's kiss. Gorgeous. No notes. Now let me introduce the magnificent entourage that followed Roman into exile. To combat knights, 1 steward, to clerks, a chef, 3 kitchen helpers, 5 male slaves, 5 maids, horses and supplies, 20 people total. For the son of a Grand Duke, the starter pack is basically a participation trophy. But Roman handpicked every one of them. The steward is Scythe, nearly 40 years old, stiff as a board. Clothes so precisely pressed you could cut yourself on his collar. He was Roman's etiquette teacher back home, and the only person who refused to touch a single log on building day. He stood and watched everyone sweat, then had the audacity to lecture about noble protocol. Roman told him if noble protocol could magically construct a mansion, he would gladly use it. Scythe has real management skills, which is why Roman brought him. Nobody else wanted the uptight old man, their loss. Then there are the 2 knights, Aaron and Green, no official knighthood yet, but both among the toughest fighters of their generation. Aaron is the reliable one. He started unloading carriages without being asked, calm and steady as a stone wall in a storm. Green is something else entirely. When Roman announced they were sleeping in the handmade shacks, Green looked at him like he had suggested eating gravel for dinner. When Moore offered to let them stay in Skag Town instead, Green, without missing a single beat, said, "I wouldn't mind going, lead the way." Roman stared at him. "Then go and don't come back." Green saluted, announced he was marching off, and turned to follow Moore like he was heading to glorious battle. Roman kicked him before he took another step. Green turned around with the most wounded puppy eyes imaginable. This is technically Roman's fault. He raised this man. Day 2. Roman's internal alarm clock woke him before sunrise the way 16 years of noble discipline tends to do, whether you want it to or not. Aaron and Green were already outside swinging great swords in the morning air. Roman did not join training. He squatted in the dirt pulling weeds. Planning experience unlocked. Roman figured out the night before that the game has 9 life skills: building, planning, gathering, raising animals, hunting, cooking, medicine, crafting, and forging. He could not grind all of them at once, but it was early spring planting season, and what he saw passing through Skag Town's fields had nearly given him an aneurysm. These people produce less than 100 pounds per acre, because their farming technique is essentially throw seeds at dirt and pray very hard. Moore arrived with yesterday's slaves right on schedule. They were shivering in the cold morning air, dressed in rags, clearly unnerved. Roman made a decision that apparently broke the fabric of medieval civilization. He told his chef Bob to cook porridge, 50 bowls of it. Bob said 1 pot could not make that much. Roman said make several pots. Scythe appeared and said they did not have enough grain. Moore immediately volunteered Skag Town's entire reserves. Scythe looked like he wanted to file a formal complaint with the universe. "This violates every rule and custom," he said. "I am the rules," Roman told him, and pressed a muddy handprint directly onto Scythe's pristine collar. Scythe stared at the mudprint like Roman had smeared something unspeakable on him, then walked away muttering about contaminated noble dishware. The man is probably calculating whether working here will cost him money. Almost certainly yes. Roman pulled Moore aside and gave him 3 tasks. 1. Send every document and record Skag Town as to Scythe immediately. 2. Take the 2 clerks and in 3 days deliver a complete census of every person and their occupation in the territory. Every single one. Count the babies still in the womb if necessary. Moore went quiet, suspicious quiet, sweaty quiet, because Moore had never actually counted the population. His job for years had been simple: take 50% of everything, skim whatever he wanted, send a fixed tax to the Duke, pocket the difference. Accurate numbers are the enemy of skimming. Which brings Roman to task 3. "If your numbers do not match mine," Roman said with a pleasant smile, "you will be eating black bread in the pig pen." Moore's face tried to form a smile and produced something that looked like a man stepping on a nail. Roman patted his back and watched his round little manager gallop toward town, like his life depended on it, because it kind of does. Roman had brought seeds when he left home, lots of them. He had actually farmed before, secretly, badly, but enough to know which end of a hoe goes in the ground. First order of business: build a toilet and a kitchen, standards, people, standards. Then Roman grabbed a hoe and spent the entire morning tearing into an acre of ground alone. No breaks. His 16-year-old body, built on noble protein and daily training, had the raw strength. The game knowledge did the rest. Composting with manure, seed sorting techniques, deep plowing methods. Information downloaded directly into his brain with every experience point gained. At lunch, Green cracked. "When are we going to Skag Town to do actual lord things, Aaron?" usually as silent as carved stone, could not hold back either. Roman looked at his Tonites, trained their whole lives for conquest and glory, now watching him garden, and said, "This is the big thing. And later I will bring you along for even bigger things." Green deadpanned, "You mean bigger farming?" Roman smirked, "You not good enough." Aaron's mouth twitched almost into a smile before snapping back to stone. "Quietly develop, then punch the whole world in the face. That is the plan." 2 days later, 5 acres plowed and planted, Roman's body was screaming at him every nightfall. Even a 16-year-old built like a tank starts to notice 12 consecutive hours of hoe swinging. Then more returned wearing the expression of a man walking to his own execution. Skagtown's population, he reported, was approximately 1,800 to 1,900 people. Roman smiled. "Really? Because you have been paying taxes for about 700. Moore's fat body started trembling like a bowl of jelly in an earthquake. Here is what happened. Moore's dead father never counted the actual population. Moore inherited the job and also never counted the same fixed tax based on ancient numbers, while the real population quietly tripled over decades. Nobody from the crack-scale family had checked because Roman's father, nearly 80 and running on selective memory, had completely forgotten this place existed. On paper, this is massive tax fraud. Heads should roll levels of fraud. Roman filed past it because Moore is not worth punishing, and right now Roman needs hands." Moore nearly dissolved into a puddle of relief sweat. Then Roman asked why there was a 100-person range. Moore's face went hesitant. Then he explained the rest of Skagtown's history. This place started as a refugee camp. Runaway slaves, criminals, people who could not survive in normal society. Roman's father raided it decades ago, stabbed a flag in the dirt, left one tax collector, and never came back. People never stopped fleeing here. Most were harmless farmers, but some were dangerous fugitives, bandits, military deserters, mountain hunters who knew how to kill things with handmade weapons. Moore's 30 guards in leather armor could keep regular farmers in line. Against the mountain people, official policy was simply, do not poke the bears. The population breakdown told Roman everything he needed to know. Barely any old people since nobody lives past 40. Plenty of adults, tons of kids. Which means this basin is safe enough and fed enough that people are actually reproducing. The population had been quietly growing for decades while the crack-scale family forgot to look. Humans are basically weeds. Give them food and safety and they multiply. 6 more days of hoe work later, Roman cleared 10 acres and finally, level to planning unlocked. Knowledge flooded his brain so hard he had to sit down. Composting with manure, seed sorting, deep plowing methods, how to build a curved beam plow. Agricultural technology centuries ahead of anything in this world. Milestone reward, 500 crystals. Combined with 7 days of daily login bonuses, he had 1,200 crystals total. At 160 per summon, that was 7 pulls. He could wait for more days for a 10 pull, but there was no pity system, no guaranteed rare, no preview, just a murky gray pool with tiny stars floating in it. Roman had been staring at dirt for a week. He deserved this. Let's pull. Pull 1, the pool rippled. A star shot up like a comet, blue light exploded, and 3 stars appeared on a card. Roman nearly fell over backward. It was green, his own Smartmouth Knight staring back at him from a gacha card. 3-star rarity. Assassin class, all speed and dodging. Yeah, that tracks. The apostles are not random warriors falling from the sky. They are real people from his territory. That makes so much more sense. Pull 2, purple light, for stars, Aaron. Standing in full armor, like a recruitment poster for knightly virtue. 4-star tank build. Shields and endurance, resistance to status effects. Classic Aaron. Comparing their stat cards, Aaron was clearly stronger all along. Which means he had been holding back during every sparring session. That sneaky, humble man. Pull 3, white light, to stars, a rugged face in animal skins carrying a longbow. A hunter Roman had never seen before. A man named Dota, 5E rank stats. 1 useful talent in tracking and keen eyesight. Medieval wildlife camera with legs. But if apostles are real people in the territory, where exactly was Dota standing right now? Roman burned through his remaining for pulls. Scythe, 1 star. Bob the Chef, 1 star. A stranger named Thelma, 1 star. Someone called Bara, 1 star. For consecutive 1 stars with flat E rank everything. His luck gave him 3 decent pulls for free, and then slammed the door in his face. Some things transcend reincarnation. 7 apostles pulled, for were people already working for him, which meant he had essentially paid full price for shoes he was already wearing. The other 3, Dota, Thelma, Bara, were out there somewhere. being apostles without knowing it. Roman dove into the management menu and immediately wanted to cry. Upgrading apostles required experience books made from rare magical materials. Skill books, same. Signature weapons, materials he did not have. Everything cost resources he did not own. The only free feature was the relationship meter. Aaron and Green were already at 70 to 80% because they had grown up together. The stranger sat at 10%. Cool. Time to work with what he had. Now let me explain how power actually works in this world, because it matters more than anything else that is coming. Knights are transcendents, ranked from Tier 1 through 9. The last famous Tier 9 was the Conqueror Emperor over 100 years ago, who built an armada to cross the Death Ocean, looking for a mythical convergence point, caught a disease, hit a storm, and never came back. Very inspiring career arc. But here is Roman's hot take on individual power. It is overrated. Roman, Aaron, and Green, 3 Tier 1 transcendents, could theoretically slaughter every person in Skag Town without stopping except from tired arms. 2,000 farmers against 3 knights is 2,000 sheep meeting 3 tigers. But replace those sheep with 50 wolves, 30 who will not run away. And suddenly those tigers are in serious trouble. Scale that up to a real army, and even a Tier 9 god warrior has to sit down and negotiate. The key is not making one person stronger. It is turning sheep into wolves. And humans in this world have insane physical potential. Eat well, train hard. Do not break yourself. And Tier 1 is achievable. Roman's real project is not leveling individual apostles. It is building an army. And that army starts today. On day 7, Roman finally decided to visit Skag Town. When he announced this, Green's eyes lit up like someone had switched on a lamp behind them. He sprinted to gear up. Aaron was already outside in full mithril-laced armor, gleaming like a walking chandelier. Helmet in hand, sword at hip. A knight must always be prepared, he said calmly. Liar. You just put that on, Green yelled. They rode in at noon, Roman and to armored knights on tall horses, iron hooves hammering the packed road like war drums. Moore had assembled the entire population in the town square. Over 1,000 faces staring up at them. Rough, weathered, scared faces, necks hunched, eyes darting, but not completely dead inside. There was still a spark. Roman could read their thoughts perfectly. Please just keep things the way they are. We will pay our 50% tax. Just do not make it worse. Please go away. If he announced nothing changes, they would probably build him a shrine. They had no idea what was coming. Time to put on the noble tyrant hat. Roman rode into that town square with the sun behind him so his face was all shadow and drama. And he let it rip. I am Roman Crackscale, your lord, your ruler. Everything here belongs to me. The land, the rivers. The fish in those rivers, the birds flying over your heads, mine. Even that squirrel you are looking at, also mine. And by the way, he announced, you have all been breaking the law for decades. Hunting in my mountains, fishing in my rivers, chopping my trees, all without permission. Everyone owes me 1 gold coin as punishment. 1 gold coin. These people had barely seen copper coins in their lives. The crowd went from dead silent to full meltdown into seconds flat, crying, begging, crawling. One man lunged forward. Shing. Aaron and Green drew their great swords simultaneously to armored giants on war horses, blades pointing at the sky, zero emotion on their faces. Living war statues. The lunging man practically teleported backward. Now here is the thing. Roman had negotiated 3 years of tax exemption from his father before leaving. 3 years where he answers to nobody, can rearrange everything, and no one above him will care. And the gold coin demand, that is the oldest negotiation trick in history. As for the impossible first, then offer the reasonable alternative. 2 choices, he announced. Pay the fine or obey my orders. Then he dropped the second bomb. Send every child between ages 5 and 15 to my estate. After the gold coin announcement, this barely registered. The crowd was too shell-shocked to process it. Next, he called the merchants forward. Skag Town had a small trading economy, connected to the outside world through the river system. Despite the dangerous Silver Dragon Canyon route, not one of those merchants had ever paid commercial taxes. A young bronze-skinned merchant stepped up, well-dressed, clearly not local, my lord. Everything you say is fair. We are all thieves stealing from your mountain. But why focus on us small-time pickpockets when the real bandits are hiding up in those hills? Bold move. His name was Maury Pereira, son of a famous merchant named Sullen. Roman filed him under potentially useful later. Then came the real bombshell that shook the crowd to its core. Starting today, all farming stops. Your old fields are abandoned. Anyone who touches a plow without my permission dies. Tomorrow, everything starts over under my system. Their farming methods were garbage. Absolute caveman-level garbage. Letting them continue while he figured things out would only ruin more land. Better to hit the reset button hard and fast. Roman puffed up his chest, deepened his voice to maximum intensity, and bellowed his closing statement across the square. I am reclaiming all land, all resources. Your old way of life is over. You will obey. Then he yanked his reins and rode away without looking back. Maximum dramatic exit energy. Moore was practically swimming in his own sweat. He had never seen a lord who did not just squeeze people dry. He had never seen one who ripped up the entire garden to replant it from scratch. On the ride home, Green took off his helmet and gave Roman a look. I thought you were going to keep feeding them porridge and be Mr. Nice Guy forever. Then he added, good thing you went full-time back there, because if we cannot eat white bread, I cannot maintain my training physique. Priorities. Roman hit him with, what if you really cannot have white bread anymore? Green's face froze. Even Aaron turned to look. Green shrugged it off with his usual casual declaration, whatever, you're the boss. We literally cannot say no, so do whatever crazy thing you want. Which sounds casual, but is actually the most ride-or-die loyalty declaration Roman had ever heard from this goofball. That genuinely made Roman smile. Then Scythe trotted up to ruin the mood. Taking 300 children from their families is going to cause problems. He had done the math. Kids aged 5 to 15 make up a massive chunk of the population. Pull them out and every family falls apart. Valid concerns. But Roman was not explaining the full plan yet. Short version, he needed to shape these children early. Build loyalty. Create a generation that thought differently. It was a long game. I am going to destroy their entire way of life, he told Scythe calmly. Manor-based subsistence farming is a joke. I am centralizing all resources and redistributing everything. Zero waste tolerance. Scythe's face said, you have lost your mind. Roman kept going. I am also cutting the total farming area. Anyone who cannot adapt can manage on their own. His face upgraded to, you have lost your mind and your soul. But here is the math that nobody in this medieval world understood. Right now. 1 seed of wheat produced for seeds. A 1-2 for ratio. That is why each family needed 60 acres just to not starve. Roman's target, 1 seed in, 20 seeds out. If he hit 1-8, he could have the farmland. At 1-16, he only needed a quarter. With proper seed selection, composting, and deep plowing, all that knowledge his level to planning skill had downloaded into his brain. 20-1 was honestly conservative. Fewer acres farmed meant freed up labor. And freed up labor meant construction, mining, infrastructure. The game showed him how much he had to do. Understatement of the century. The town had about 80 oxen for plowing, all previously owned by Moore and his management clique. Now confiscated. 80 oxen for 2,000 people is pathetic. Half the fields never got properly tilled. They just threw seeds on unbroken dirt and called it farming. Roman was done with that. 3 years of tax exemption from his father. 3 years to flip this entire territory upside down. Terrorize them into obedience today. Revolutionize their farming tomorrow. Free up enough people to build an actual civilization. No gentle reforms. No town hall meetings. No slowly winning hearts. War is coming. The world is changing. Roman refused to be caught planting seeds when the storm hits. Fast, brutal, efficient. Cut the knot, do not untie it. Back at the estate, Roman remembered that the game let him give apostles code names. He turned to Green and Aaron and asked if they wanted nicknames. Green's eyes went wide. You want to make us titled knights? In this world, only legendary warriors tier 5 and above with epic achievements get official titles. Green puffed up like a peacock. No, Roman said, just an alias. Green's face deflated like a sad balloon. Then, can my code name be Green? Roman stared at him. Get out. Green wandered off scratching his head, completely unable to understand why anyone would ask something so pointless. Roman did not even bother asking Aaron. He typed the names in himself and moved on. Meanwhile, back in Skag Town, Roman's speech had detonated like a bomb in a chicken coop. Every farmer swarmed more like drowning people grabbing a life raft. Do all 5 of my children have to go? Is the Lord turning us into slaves? What will he eat if we do not plant? Mer turned red and exploded. Shut up all of you. Think I can change the Lord's mind? I am nothing in front of a noble. And he shoved through the crowd and stomped away. Absolute legend of emotional management. The farmers were left staring at each other in terror. Technically, Roman had violated the law by seizing their land. The rental contracts gave them farming rights. The king could punish him for this. But the king was hundreds of miles away and did not know this place existed. Roman's own father barely remembered it. So who exactly was going to stop him? The general theory among the farmers was that this was a power move. And if they acted obedient enough, Roman would eventually throw them a bone. They were not entirely wrong. They just were not prepared for what that bone would look like. And here is where things got spicy. That young merchant Mori Pereira went back to his ship at the dock. Inside the cabin sat a woman in a black hooded robe. All you could see was red lips and a pale chin. Her name was Shasta. She was not happy. "Did you find her?" she asked. "No. Your intel might be wrong. Everyone in town is talking about the new lord." Mori summarized Roman's big speech. When he got to the part about sending all children to the estate, Shasta's reaction was not what anyone would expect. "I knew nobles had disgusting hobbies, but most at least do it secretly," she said. "Boys and girls. That is revolting." Mori blinked. "You think he is a predator?" So apparently, there was a mysterious woman on a boat who thought Roman was a medieval creep. Fantastic. Great start to the reputation. To his credit, Mori defended Roman, sort of. He pointed out that if Roman had those kinds of interests, he would not have spent 7 full days farming turnips before collecting children. Fair logic. Mori's actual theory was more interesting. Maybe Roman was building an army, training child soldiers into future knights. But he could not figure out why Roman had seized all the farmland too. He stared out at the mountains surrounding Skag Town and wondered, is this lunatic going to try carving a road through solid rock to connect with the outside world? Buddy, you have no idea what this lunatic is planning. And honestly, neither did anyone else in the story, including Roman's own staff. While Roman slept peacefully in his cabin that night, apparently his town was being haunted. He did not know that yet. The mysterious woman on Mori's boat was Shasta, a witch. She wore a black robe like every mysterious woman in every story ever. And she was looking for another witch, a girl named Gwyneth, who had escaped into the mountains around Skag Town. Here is the deal. The church hunts witches in this world. Burns them alive. The whole medieval horror package. Mori's family secretly helped witches on the side. Which is the kind of side hustle that gets your entire bloodline deleted if discovered. Shasta had come hidden on his trade ship because their intelligence placed a young witch somewhere in the area. Problem was, Mori had spent 3 days searching with a magic purple crystal that was supposed to detect witch energy and got absolutely nothing. His theory, the girl had fled into the deep mountains. These two argued like an old married couple. Shasta wanted to search herself. Mori said absolutely not. She called him useless. He called her reckless. She shot smoke from her hand and created a literal fog wall between them and stormed off. Mike kicked a rock and immediately regretted it. Classic. That night, Shasta went full horror movie on Skag Town. She could turn into creeping smoke, slip into houses, and make sleeping people talk in their dreams. She drifted from hut to hut whispering, "Where is the witch of Skag Town?" Like the world's most unsettling census worker. Most people mumbled nonsense, but one old farmer sleep-talked a name, Gwyneth. Shasta pressed harder. The man's dream scrambled into panic mode. "She is not my daughter. She is an evil witch. Please, church lords, do not burn us." Witch told Shasta everything. This man was Gwyneth's father, and he was so terrified of the church that even in his dreams, he was turning in his own child. Then Shasta noticed the woman sleeping beside him. She turned to go, but the mother was faking sleep. She tried to shake her husband awake and could not. Shasta's magic had knocked him into deep sleep. "Do not bother," Shasta said from behind her. "He will not wake up." The mother turned and saw a cloud of smoke with glowing red eyes staring at her. She screamed, "Do not hurt my children. Where is Gwyneth?" And that is where the scene cut. Meanwhile, a random farmer who was still awake had spotted the smoke creature drifting between houses and nearly died of fright, convinced a demon from hell was eating people's souls. To recap, Roman was trying to build a farming utopia, and there was a witch hunt happening in his backyard that he knew absolutely nothing about. A smoke witch was terrorizing his citizens in their sleep. There was a missing girl in his mountains. The church wanted her dead. A merchant was having a nervous breakdown on his boat, and Roman was lying in bed peacefully dreaming about crop rotation ratios. Being a lord is great. You miss all the fun stuff. Beautiful morning. Roman was admiring his perfectly plowed fields. Rows so straight they would make a geometry teacher weep. When Mer came galloping and screaming like someone was skinning him alive. "My lord, demons. Demons in Skag Town last night." Roman sighed. After getting the details, mysterious smoke creature. People unable to wake up. He called Green and Aaron over for a quick brainstorm. About 30 seconds was all it took. Only witch magic could pull off something that creepy for that long. There was a witch in his territory. Now let me explain the whole witch and church situation because it is a mess worth understanding. Power in this land runs on a triangle: kings, nobles, and the church. The church worships multiple gods and has serious military muscle, holy knights, witch hunter knights, inquisition knights. Plus, they collect a 10% income tax from literally everyone, called the tithe. Imagine the tax authority, but with swords and divine righteousness. Except in the Black Iron Kingdom, Roman's father and the other Grand Dukes had collectively told the church to take their tithes somewhere else. The king paid, but the dukes controlling 40% of the military did not. Nothing the church could do about it. Skagtown had zero church presence. No chapel, no priest, no tithe collectors. If there was a church here, Roman would quietly deal with it. Mountains are tall. The emperor is far away. Every woman in this world has a tiny chance of spontaneously awakening witch powers. The church considered witches walking disasters, unclean filth to be purged, centuries of burning. Not just the witch, her entire family, supposedly contaminated by association. When Roman was 10 years old, he watched the church burn a witch alive on crack-scale territory. His father refused to pay their taxes, but somehow did not stop the execution on his own land. Roman had gone to watch out of curiosity. He saw the fire, the black smoke rising like a devil's signature. A helpless woman tied to a stake. Face covered in soot, her scream swallowed by crackling wood. Everything collapsed into ash. Something cracked inside 10-year-old Roman that day. He never forgot it. Back to breakfast. It is not a demon, Roman told everyone at the table, just a passing witch. Moore sat down. Roman had no fancy dining rules. Green and Aaron were already eating. Scythe refused to sit and insisted on standing, waiting to eat Roman's leftovers like a self-imposed second-class citizen. Nobody asked him to do that. He chose suffering. Moore asked carefully, should we notify the church? They pay 10 gold coins to anyone who reports a witch. That is the price of 20 oxen. Roman could practically see the dollar signs in Moore's eyes. Why would I do that? She is just passing through, Roman said. Moore's inner monologue was visible on his face. Passing through. This is the most remote corner of the entire kingdom. Nobody passes through here on their way to somewhere else. But out loud, yes, you are absolutely right, my lord. Smart pick. Moore confirmed only to people had actually seen the smoke creature. Nobody was hurt, and he had already told the witnesses to keep quiet. Then forget about it, Roman said. The witch was clearly looking for someone, not his problem. He did not have the magic detection crystal. He did not have the time. And as long as she was not burning his fields or scaring his future workforce, she could drift around all she wanted. Roman finished breakfast and headed to Skagtown with his whole crew. He had a revolution to run, and no spooky fog lady was going to delay his schedule. The people were already waiting, looking at him like puppies who had just been scolded. Good. Yesterday's tyrant act had worked perfectly. Submissive, obedient, terrified. Exactly what he needed. No speeches today. Time to work. First order, spring wheat. Skagtown always grew it, so Roman was keeping that tradition. But everything about how they grew it, garbage. Gone, deleted. Normal seeding rate here was 15 to 20 pounds per acre. Roman's rate, 30 pounds minimum. Spring wheat needed heavy seeding or the yields were pathetic. Step 1 was seed selection. The proper method used salt water to float out the bad seeds. Problem, salt was a luxury item here. These people could barely afford to season their food, let alone fill a barrel with brine. Roman improvised with mud water. Same density principle. Mix clay into water until the bad seeds floated to the surface. Same result, zero cost. He set up a barrel, calibrated the ratio, and assigned to farmers to stir in shifts. Moore crept over and asked why Roman was making people stir mud soup. Do not ask why. Roman told him, you do not deserve to know. You are farming tools. Tools do not need to understand why their owner swings them. Harsh, yes. But Roman was not going to stand here delivering a lecture on seed buoyancy to people who thought thunder was God sneezing. Show them results first, explanations later. Now let me tell you about the farming situation that nearly melted his brain. Skagtown's total cultivated area from the previous year, over 10,000 acres. Roman's jaw dropped, then he looked closer. Most of those fields were scattered patches separated by forest, swamps, hills, and grassland. Half of them were not even properly tilled. Seeds had been thrown onto unbroken dirt and called farming. And it got worse. The soil lost nutrients after one season, so they rotated constantly. Farm a patch this year, abandon it for years. Come back when nature restored the fertility. The total land they had ever farmed could be 30 or 40,000 acres. That was why they had built satellite villages. Just walking to your field ate half your working day. Roman's plan, condense everything down to 2,000 acres of the best, most fertile land. A rectangle roughly 1.3 kilometers by 1 kilometer. 1 acre per person. But to make 2,000 acres produce what 10,000 could not, he needed fertilizer. Lots of fertilizer. So he issued possibly the most dignified order in the history of feudal lordship. Everyone go collect poop. All the poop. Human, animal, whatever you can find, plus rotten straw. Dead grass, old stalks, river mud, pile it up. We are making compost. Natural fermentation takes at least 2 weeks, so no planning until it was ready. 20 to 30 days of prep work before a single seed hit soil. Then the real bombshell, find 80 women to cook. Every single person, including slaves, gets lunch every day. Half a pound of dry rations, thick bread slices, oat porridge with vegetable soup, and plenty of clean boiled water, Roman included. Moore's face went through about 17 emotions in a seconds. Where does this food come from? You are eating the same thing as peasants? Are you staging a revolution? Here is the dirty secret. Skagtown was not actually short on food. Moore had been selling surplus grain for years to buy cattle and pad his pockets. Those 80 oxen came from somewhere. Roman knew it. Moore knew Roman knew it. Neither mentioned it. Past theft was forgiven. But that fat food reserve, that was now the town's emergency budget. Time for Moore to slim down voluntarily or otherwise. The math was simple. About 1,200 able-bodied adults after subtracting kids and the elderly. Everyone ate together at noon. No going home. Families with babies or immobile grandparents brought them to the communal meal. The 80 cooking women doubled as childcare every day. Centralized labor, centralized feeding, centralized childcare. Welcome to Skagtown 2.0. The farming commune nobody asked for, but everyone was getting. Roman herded 300 children back to Origin Estate, like a shepherd with the world's most confused flock. These children were his long-term investment. They would learn, they would work, and if they misbehaved, simple educational philosophy, get corrected until you stop misbehaving. Now, about his two clerks, German and Hans, educated men from city schools. Sons of merchants and gentry, hired at premium wages, 1 point to gold coins per year. 50% above market rate, 3 years upfront, 10-year contracts. For context, a knight with 1,000 acres of land only makes 10 to 20 gold coins annually before expenses. These clerks had a very sweet deal. So, when Roman told them their job was to teach those 300 farm kids math, reading, and writing, you would think he had asked them to eat dirt. German spoke first. My lord, I did not follow you to the edge of civilization to become a teacher. Hans backed him up. His grandfather was a lawmaker for a great lord. He had aspiration. So, you are going to disobey my orders. Roman's voice went cold. Hans, finding courage somewhere in his skinny chest, puffed up and mentioned royal court judicial authority and noble protocol. He watched Roman's eyes get progressively more terrifying and his voice shrank. From courtroom declaration to mouse squeak. I pay you above market rate. Roman said quietly, do not talk to me about your rights. Your salary buys my authority to command you. Dead silence, they could feel it. That calm before the hurricane energy. If they died out here, their families would not hear about it for years. Nobody would come looking. You signed a contract. You serve your master. Yes, frantic nodding. Never question my decisions again, or I will execute you. That last line was not a bluff. They could feel the blood on it. Teaching peasant children might seem like a waste of 2 expensive employees, but these two could not see past their own egos. Roman was not building a farm. He was building a civilization. And civilizations need literate people. 300 kids learning math and reading today meant 300 capable administrators, engineers, and officers in 5 years. German and Hans just could not see the board Roman was playing on. Back in Skagtown, the poop collectors had returned for lunch. An entire workforce had spent the morning gathering feces, and now they were lining up for food smelling exactly like you would expect. Roman walked right through the outdoor dining area without flinching. The smell was just the appetizer. He would be handling that dung mountain personally later. Moore had set things up beautifully, tables, chairs, cookware requisitioned from every house in town, stone fire pits with clay pots still bubbling. The man was an organizational genius when his life depended on it. The farmers parted like the sea as Roman walked through. They had not been given new land assignments, had not been told when they could plant. Prime farming season, and their lord had them collecting poop. But the lunch he was serving them, enough food to feed their entire family for a day at home. Half a pound of dry rations, thick bread, oat porridge, vegetable soup. He could see the thought in their eyes. Is this a last meal? Are we being executed tomorrow? No. You beautiful paranoid people. You are being fed so you can work harder. But go ahead and enjoy your existential dread with the porridge. The dung piles so far. About 10 tons collected that morning alone. More coming. Roman needed at least 100 tons. Equal opportunity poop collection from every species in the territory. He inspected the communal lunch and confirmed it was the same meal Scythe had prepared for him. He meant what he said. He ate what they ate. He wolfed down terrible black bread without chewing because if you actually tasted it, you would wish you had not. Then he grabbed more and marched straight to Poop Mountain. And what followed was the worst 2 hours of both his lives. The smell hit like a physical wall. More turned white. Roman turned green. Liquid feces pooled everywhere. His stomach was doing backflips trying to return his lunch. He clenched every muscle, grabbed his tools, and waded in. 2 hours later, he had built a perfect flat-ground composting pile, layered, packed, and sealed with wet mud for high-temperature internal fermentation. In 2 weeks, it would break down into actual fertilizer with just a mild ammonia smell instead of this. When he staggered out, he had compost material splattered on his clothes, his pants, and apparently his soul. His face had gone from green to purple. He sprinted to the nearest water source and scrubbed himself raw. Then he sniffed his arm and realized that smell was not coming off anytime soon. He had been marinated. He was a composted manure lord. Moving on to something that did not smell, technology. Roman went to inspect the livestock pens and farming equipment, then summoned Skagtown's blacksmith. His name was Lax. Middle-aged, curly hair, massive beard, chest hair erupting from his open shirt, arms like iron bands. Classic blacksmith. High social status because he was actually useful. Roman asked about the farming tools. Most were bought from merchants. Lax mainly did repairs. His iron supply, 200 pounds total. His entire fortune, worth more than 8 oxen. He was visibly nervous Roman was going to confiscate it. Instead, Roman squatted down and drew a diagram in the dirt. A heavy plow with wheels. Lax's eyes went wide. Then he tried to waive his labor fee, then hesitated, and dropped this gem. But my lord, the church says all things are God-given. We must keep them as they are. To change is to walk toward hell. The church's technological suppression reached even here, in the most remote corner of the kingdom. Religious tentacles whispering that inventing things sent you to hell. No wonder this civilization was stuck in the Dark Ages. Roman stood up and looked Lax dead in the eye. Then tell their God to come say that to my face. Lax looked like he had been slapped with the Holy Scripture. Roman dragged him to his workshop and told him to get started immediately. But as he walked away, something was nagging at him. Something about the existing plow that did not add up. This land was wet, heavy clay soil, high moisture content. His level to planning knowledge confirmed it. The current light plows could only scratch the surface. A shallow cut that barely loosened the topsoil. For this type of soil, you needed a heavy plow that dug deep, flipped the earth over, broke up the clay. Basic agricultural logic. And here was the weird part. Somebody in this world's history was smart enough to invent an iron plow. They had the metallurgy. They had the concept, but they made a light one for wet, heavy clay soil. That was like inventing an umbrella and making it out of tissue paper. The natural conditions of this land should have produced a heavy plow. The light plow did not fit. If someone had the intelligence to create iron farming tools, why would they make the wrong kind? Unless someone or something had deliberately stunted agricultural development on this continent. Roman looked back at that pathetic little plow one more time. That thing should not exist here. It violated the logic of how civilizations develop technology to match their environment. Something was very, very wrong with this world's history. But that was a mystery for another day. Right now he had a heavy plow to build and approximately 90 more tons of compost to collect. Priorities. Quick economics lesson. 1 gold coin bought 30 to 50 pounds of iron depending on quality. Roman's entire inheritance was about 20 gold coins. Iron was basically medieval currency. Most of it went to military equipment. Lax's stockpile, 200 pounds of bargain iron. Full of impurities, but good enough for basic farm tools. Roman needed 40 heavy plows, each needing at least 30 pounds of iron. That was 1,200 pounds minimum. Even melting down every light plow in town, about 80 of them. After reforging losses, they would be lucky to keep 60%. Maybe 540 usable pounds. Way short. Then Lax mentioned the merchant ships at the dock might have iron for sale. Roman marched down to the river with his entourage. Maury spotted them coming from 50 meters away, and Roman watched the man's soul leave his body in real time. Maury clearly thought Roman had caught his witch friend and was coming to arrest him. He was cycling through contingency plans, beg forgiveness, throw money at the problem, deny everything and pray. He settled on act casual and walked up looking confused. When he discovered Roman just wanted to buy iron, the relief nearly knocked him flat. He wiped his forehead. The exact same nervous wedding move Moore always did. Mori had 450 pounds of high-quality iron, 30 per gold coin. Total price, 15 gold coins. Most of Roman's remaining cash. Roman thought for exactly 2 seconds, then pulled out a ruby from his coat, bright red, gorgeous. About the size of an adult thumbnail. His birth gift from the Duke. A magical gemstone that strengthened the wearer's body over time, nudging ordinary people toward transcendence. These things were almost never sold. Bankrupt nobles would part with their land, their horses, their dignity before touching inherited gems. Roman tossed it to Mori like it was a grape. Red ruby. Makes weak people strong. Worth about 15 gold. Take it. Mori caught it, and his pupils shrank to pinpoints. Then he did something unexpected. He straightened up, got formal, and pushed the ruby back. Honored Lord, your finances are tight, but I have no doubt in your leadership. Please allow me to donate these 450 pounds of iron as an investment in your friendship. As he leaned in to return the gem, he caught a whiff of something. His nose twitched. He glanced at the blacksmith and carpenter behind Roman, assuming they were the source. Then he got closer. The smell was coming from Roman himself, from his skin, from his very being. The man had spent 2 hours wrestling a mountain of compost earlier, and no amount of scrubbing had fully erased the evidence. Roman could see the exact moment Mori's brain went. I was about to pledge my fortune to a lord who smells like he bathed in a latrine. Have I made a terrible mistake? Some lords wear perfume. Roman wore composted manure. It was called commitment to agriculture. Mori would not understand. Roman took the ruby back, sentimental about it since birth but fully prepared to trade it. Thankfully, Mori decided to just donate the iron as a friendship investment. I do not take handouts, Roman told him straight. I will pay you back in other ways. No charity, no favors, no leverage over me, but investments. Investments he would accept all day, especially while broke. He offered 2 years of zero commercial tax in Skagtown, then casually dropped. Also, I need 100 oxen and 100 draft horses before spring ends. Mori nearly choked. He could maybe scrape together 50 oxen from Count Khan's land 100 miles away, through rapids and rocks. 100 was impossible in that time frame, but draft horses he could source. Final deal, 50 oxen and 100 draft horses. Cost somewhere between most of Roman's money and all of it plus some he did not have yet. Did he care? No. You cannot build an empire by being careful with money. Mori watched Roman toss that ruby round like a grape, and decided this crazy lord was worth betting on. But something was clearly eating at him. Probably connected to the witch situation Roman was pretending not to notice. Roman hauled 150 pounds of iron back to the smithy alongside Lax and a wheelwright Vicky, each of them bear hugging a crate through the streets of Skagtown. With this new supply plus the melted down light plows, they barely had enough iron for 40 heavy plows. Lax and Vicky started working through the night. This was the key technology unlock, the kind of breakthrough that jump-started entire civilizations. One invention, properly deployed, and everything changed. 2 more days and all the fertilizer processing would be done. The pieces were all moving, but something was nagging at Roman. Mori had hinted about the mountains. The witch had appeared searching for someone. Something was hiding up in those peaks, and as lord of this territory, Roman should probably know what. Tomorrow he was going hunting. He woke before dawn on day 9, went to his personal chest and pulled out the bow. Let me tell you about this bow. The body was made of bloodwood, a supernatural material that had supposedly soaked in dragon's blood. It radiated courage, literally. Even a coward gripping a bloodwood branch would charge into battle screaming. The string was woven from sea monster tendons processed through arcane tanning technique. You could hack at it with a sword and not cut through on the first swing. Mounted on each tip, to diamond eggs the size of pigeon eggs. Not decorative. These enchanted the bow, and arrows with armor-piercing force. Pull weight, 150 to 200 pounds. That was like one arm deadlifting a grown man every time you drew. Penetrating power roughly equivalent to a heavy sniper rifle, though less accurate and shorter range. Basically a magical anti-tank weapon shaped like a bow. A replica of the original crack scale ancestor's legendary dragon-piercing bow. Worth easily triple-digit gold coins. Every noble in the kingdom would kill for it. Roman was not supposed to get this thing at all, but right before he left home, the old duke called him to the family vault and told him to take the bow off the wall. Then he delivered the crack scale family motto. Cleave through thorns. That ancient, possibly senile, probably forgot my birthday every year old man. Maybe he had not completely forgotten about Roman after all. Time to cleave some thorns. The mountains were waiting. Roman tied his hair up with a headband, threw on hunting gear, strapped the bow to his back, and looked in the nearest reflective surface. Magnificent, like a lion that just got a haircut. Green and Aaron ditched their heavy armor for mobility. Roman had Aaron bring an iron shield. You never knew. He rode to Skag Town and told Moore to assemble the guards. They were going into the mountains. Moore's brain turned to porridge. You could not have warned me. Why was he going to stop Roman? His face cycled through grief, acceptance, and something resembling romantic hatred. This man had never loved and despised anyone as much as he loved and despised Roman right now. Those people are dangerous, Moore pleaded. So I should just let dangerous people roam my territory doing whatever they want. Moore looked like he wanted to cry, die, and resign simultaneously. Through all of Roman's insane behavior over the past week, Moore had silently accepted everything. Farming revolution, fine. Poop mountains, fine. Feeding slaves noble quality meals, sure. Whatever. But this was where he drew the line. The mountains genuinely terrified him. So naturally, Roman made him come along. Moore turned to stone. Eyes went dead. Soul departed, a man who had accepted his fate. Roman took 20 of the 30 guards and left 10 to keep order in town. He asked the guards if they had mountain experience. The locals regularly went into the forest for wood, so they knew enough terrain to stay alive if careful. Now here is an important detail about how Roman's game system worked in the field. Life's Breath mode mapped his territory as Origin Farm, but most of the map was blank. He had to physically walk places to reveal them. When he did, the system tagged everything: lumber zones or veins, hunting grounds, swamps, rivers, a resource radar. Wherever he walked, if there was a mine nearby, it got marked automatically. The resource scanning alone was worth this hike. He needed to find iron deposits, and stumbling around randomly would take months. With the game radar, he just had to walk past them. They had not even reached the hunter camp when Roman felt it, that prickly sixth sense. That develops when someone was pointing an arrow at your skull. Aaron sensed it too. A natural rustling in the bushes. Someone was trying to circle behind them. Aaron grabbed his shield and locked into defensive position. Green's eyes went razor sharp. Sword out, back to back with Roman. Triangle formation. The guards, bless their slow reflexes, eventually noticed two combat knights going into battle mode and thought, oh, we should probably be scared too. Do you want to be enemies with your lord? Roman called out into the trees. A voice from the shadows. We do not have a lord. You do now. Bowstrings creaked tight all around them. Fun times. Roman did not draw his weapon, just stood there hands free, radiating the energy of a man who genuinely did not care if you shot. You want to fight combat knights? You cannot win. Come out. I will forgive everything. Silence, then whispering. Heated debate happening somewhere in the undergrowth. Someone wanted to submit. Someone did not. Finally, a young hunter stepped out to negotiate. We just want to be left alone. We will give you our hunting catches if you do not bother us. He stopped mid-sentence because Roman was staring at him with the strangest expression. Because Roman recognized this face. Not from real life, from a gacha card. This was Dota. 2-star pull, 5E rank stats, tracking skill, keen eyesight. Standing right in front of him in the flesh. Trying to negotiate his independence from the man who literally owned his soul in a mobile game. Just swear loyalty to me, Roman said. Dota's brain crashed. What? On this land I have the right to claim everything. Everyone here is my subject. Tell me your name. My apostle Dota Gurney. Found him. 3 pulls. 3 confirmed real people. The game was not random. It was pulling from actual humans in his territory. Fun bonus, after recruiting his first apostles, the game unlocked new modes. Battle simulation. Dispatch combat, apostle war bands, destiny expedition. All useless right now, but waiting there. Patient, like a promise. Take me to everyone else in these mountains, Roman told Dota. I will decide who gets to serve me based on how they behave. Meanwhile, in a completely separate storyline Roman knew nothing about, Shasta the witch had followed Gwyneth's mother's directions into the deep forest. She carried a bag of peas. Gwyneth's family had been secretly leaving food at a specific crooked chestnut tree by a stream, a dead drop for their exiled daughter. Shasta hung the peas on the tree and waited. 1 full day, nothing. She slept in the freezing mountain night, her powers keeping her alive at least. Day 2. A small ragged figure crept to the tree. A skinny girl in torn clothes. Standing on tiptoes to grab the bag, dumping peas into her shirt like a makeshift apron. She looked around nervously and scurried away. Shasta followed her to a crude shelter, branches and leaves barely holding together. Not something a child could build alone. Someone had helped her at some point. This girl had been living alone in the wilderness for over a year. Maybe 12 or 13 years old, surviving on secret food drops and whatever the forest offered. Shasta stepped into view. Gwyneth. The girl jumped so hard she spilled all her peas. I am Shasta. We are the same, do not be afraid. She let black smoke curl from her hands. Proof. You are a witch. Gwyneth screamed and backed away like Shasta was the monster, not the rescuer. I do not have evil powers. I am not possessed. Go away. She turned to run. Shasta caught her, wrapped her arms around the terrified child, and held on. It is okay. You will eat bread every day. Sleep in a real bed. No more rain. No more cold. Nobody will burn you. We were not born just to suffer. We did not awaken just to die. And somewhere down the mountain, Roman was cheerfully cataloging ore deposits on his game map and threatening hunters into futile submission, completely oblivious to the fact that a rescue mission was happening a few miles above his head. 2 stories. 1 mountain, 0 coordination, classic Skag Town. The hunters folded faster than wet paper. 15 fighters total against 20 guards and 2 combat knights. Roman did not even need to fight. He just needed to point out one simple fact. He controlled Skag Town. They needed Skag Town. No town access meant no grain, no cloth, no iron tools. The mountain lifestyle depended entirely on the settlement he now owned. Checkmate, without drawing a single weapon. He gave them 1 month to pack up and move down to Skag Town. They were not happy. He was not asking. Then he had Dota spill everything about the mountain's most wanted residents. First, Dirty Dr. Garland, a mysterious healer everyone respected. Nobody knew where he came from. Sounds useful. Second, Jet the Deserter. Ran away from a battlefield. Nowhere left to go. Ended up here. Standard fugitive backstory. Third, Dick the Traitor Knight, a former combat knight who had killed the noble he served. Every aristocrat in the land wanted him dead. Somehow he had wandered into these mountains. Extremely dangerous. Fourth, and most interesting, Borg the Great Bandit. Legendary. He had murdered a noble, stolen all his wealth, and distributed it to the common people like a deranged medieval Robin Hood. The heartwarming epilogue. After Borg left, another noble showed up and hanged every single peasant who had received the stolen money. Truly a feel-good story. Dota warned Roman, do not approach Borg. He is very dangerous. Then a beast roared from deep in the mountains and everyone went tense. Roman pushed Dota further. There is one more person, is there not? Dota hesitated. Roman stared him down until he cracked. The last one is the Doom Witch, Gwyneth. Aha! Mystery solved. That was who Shasta had been searching for. Everything connected. But here is the part Roman did not witness, pieced together much later. And it was not great for him. Borg the Great Bandit had visited Dick the Traitor Knight in his mountain cabin. A dragon has entered the mountain, Borg announced. By dragon, he meant Roman. He ran it at Dick. This dragon will send his claws after us. The weak hunters will submit. You, me. Jet, the doctor, the little witch, none of us will be safe. He will sell the witch girl to the church. Are you going to watch a child burn? Dick, apparently possessing the patience of a saint. What do you want from me? Kill the dragon before he destroys our paradise. Dick laid it out calmly. Borg had nightmares every night. He dreamed about all the peasants who had died because of his generosity. The man was deeply, profoundly broken, and his solution to every problem was murder the noble and give stuff to poor people, ignoring the fact that this exact plan had already gotten an entire village executed. Dick refused. He pointed out that even if Borg killed Roman, the Grand Duke would flatten Skag Town in revenge. Everyone would die again, because of Borg. Again. Borg's response came with full crazy eyes. I will kill Roman Crackscale and that fat pig more. Give all their grain and gold to the poor. Divide the land. They will follow me to kill more dragons. Kill all the dragons. Once every noble is dead, everything will be fine. Dick said no. Borg left. Dick sat alone, pulled out a tarnished silver necklace, stared at it, and sighed. So to summarize Roman's current situation, he was building plows, collecting poop, and teaching kids math while a mentally unstable Robin Hood was plotting to assassinate him. Using magical beast, the one man who could stop Borg had said not my problem. There was a traumatized witch child somewhere eating peas in a bush, and Roman knew none of this. He was out here vibing with his gacha game, thinking, wow, this mountain has great iron deposits. Being a lord is wonderful. You are always the last to know when someone wants to kill you. Dota led Roman to the dirty doctor's place first, and let me tell you, the nickname was earned. This man, Garland, had a beard that might have been white once, but was now a color only describable as biological hazard brown. His whole body looked like it had not seen water since the previous century. But his little mountain cabin was stuffed with bottles, crushed herbs, insect specimens floating in alcohol, a crucible, a real medieval pharmacy. Then Roman spotted something on his shelf, a faith medallion, the 33 divine seats design. Intricate lines connecting 33 dots in a sacred pattern. Church issue. You are church, are you not? Not a question. Dota's jaw hit the floor. Moore started sweating so hard Roman thought he would dehydrate. In Moore's head, a witch and a church agent. What else is hiding in my town? Is there a dragon under the bakery? Garland did not flinch. He sat there with surprisingly sharp eyes, watching Roman rummage through his belongings like he owned the place, which he did. Roman had suspected since meeting him. The way he organized his equipment was textbook church style, and only the church had a real medical education system. Their healing knowledge was leagues ahead of anyone else's. You left the church? Roman asked. Want to work for me? Church doctrine says servants of the gods must serve for life, Garland replied in a creaky voice. So no resignation letter option. He did not respond. Long pause. I have not abandoned my faith in the gods. I only left the institution. That was actually a fascinating theological position. Believing in the gods while rejecting their only authorized franchise on earth. Here was Roman's philosophy on religion, and it was pretty simple. If the gods were real and powerful and cared about their followers, why was the world still this miserable? Why were people starving while the church collected tithes? If the gods were real but did not have world-changing power, then why fear them? If the gods were real but did not care about believers, then the church was just a successful scam with swords. Anyway, you sliced it. Roman did not owe them anything. He was about to recruit Garland with his signature blend of threats and career opportunity, when a blood-curdling shriek tore through the mountain forest. Not entirely human, not entirely beast. Something between a pig being murdered and the earth itself screaming. Everyone went rigid. Somewhere in those trees, something very bad was happening. And based on the timeline Roman reconstructed later, it was happening right next to where Shasta had just found little Gwyneth. Because Borg, the crazy bandit, had apparently decided today was the day to execute his master plan. Lure a magical beast toward Roman and stage his assassination, disguised as an animal attack. Except the beast did not go toward Roman. It went toward the witches instead. So let us take stock of Roman's mountain excursion, a secret church doctor, a hunter-turned apostle, a sweating fat man, 20 nervous guards to combat knights, a mad bandit orchestrating Roman's murder, a deserter hiding somewhere, a traitor knight who would not pick a side, and to witches about to get mauled by a magical beast. And Roman was just standing there thinking, that scream sounded pretty close. Should probably check that out. Welcome to the worst field trip in feudal history. Birds exploded out of the forest like someone had set off fireworks in a chicken coop. That death shriek cut off suddenly like someone unplugged a speaker mid-song. Then the entire mountain went berserk. Roaring, howling, beast calls echoing from every direction. Moore was vibrating like a human earthquake. Sweat visibly pouring. My lord, please. Can we leave now, please? Roman asked Green about that initial shriek. Wild boar, killed instantly. A magical beast-class mountain boar. Something that even Green and Aaron admitted they could not take down that cleanly in full armor. Whatever had killed it was a high-tier transcendent. One strike, no struggle, no sound of a fight. That was terrifying. Moore was practically clawing at Roman's sleeve. Could be the traitor knight. Could be the deserter. Let's just go, please. Then one of the guards outside screamed, Beast, huge shadow incoming. Everything went to chaos. Guards and hunters stumbling over each other. Roman stepped out of Garland's cabin and bellowed from the deepest part of his lungs. Defensive line now. That shut everyone up for about 2 seconds. Long enough to see what was coming. A brown bear, 3 meters tall, charging up the slope at absolutely ridiculous speed. 30 meters in 4 or 5 seconds. A furry freight train with murder on its mind. Defensive line, Roman shouted again. The guards fumbled their shields into something resembling a formation. Didn't matter. The bear hit them like a bowling ball through wet tissue paper. 4 or 5 guards went flying. They had not even braced properly. When you are scared and get hit by a 1-ton bear, your body just says, sure, I will fall down now. Aaron charged in, shield first. He slammed it into the bear's skull, planted his foot on an exposed rock for leverage, and with every muscle screaming, stopped the bear's charge dead. His face went crimson. His whole body was shaking, but he held. Green came in from behind. His sword soared overhead, plunged into the bear's neck. Should have been a kill shot, but the bear jerked at the last moment. The blade only sank about 10 centimeters before sliding out. Deep gash, bone visible, but not lethal. The bear went ballistic. So Roman did what any reasonable lord would do. He swung his legendary crack scale bow, the priceless dragon scale-piercing family heirloom, like a baseball bat directly into the bear's face. The blunt impact stunned it cold. Its head snapped sideways, teeth loosened. The first crack scale duke was probably rolling in his grave. Green, because Green was insane, leaped onto the bear's back, drove his sword straight down into its spine, sinking it a good 20 centimeters, then flipped off and ripped the blade out as he landed. The bear screamed and charged after them. Perfect, clear line of sight. The hunters fired their arrows, stone tips barely scratching through the fur. Mosquito bites on a monster. Roman's turn. He raised the bow. Bloodwood body, sea monster sinew string, diamond-tipped arrows. 200 pounds of draw weight. He pulled until his arm screamed, aimed, and released. The sound was almost beautiful, a vicious whistle cutting through the mountain air. The arrow punched entirely through the bear's hide and disappeared inside its body. 80 centimeters of metal shaft gone, like pushing a pin into a cushion. The bear staggered, shrieking. Roman knocked another arrow, and another, and another. 5 shots total, every single one buried completely inside the creature, shredding its organs from the inside. His right arm went numb. He finally lowered the bow. The bear was still moving, barely dragging itself in agony. Roman grabbed a guard's iron spear, and together with Aaron and Green they finished it. Spears through the throat and brain done. He stood over the corpse, breathing hard. This thing was a treasure chest. Bear gallbladder and heart worth a fortune. Capable of strengthening normal humans and curing diseases. Noble exclusive delicacies that could fund a small army. Then Dota knelt to inspect the body and went pale. My lord, it reeks of beast frenzy grass. Beast frenzy grass was basically a stimulant for animals. It drove predators into uncontrollable rage. Extremely rare. And there was no way a normal person could feed it to a magical beast without getting eaten first. Only one person in these mountains had the skills and the insanity to drug a magical bear and direct it toward a specific target. Borg the Great Bandit, the lunatic, had tried to assassinate Roman with a weaponized bear. Dota connected the dots immediately and told Roman everything. How Borg had been losing his mind. How he saw all nobles as dragons to be slain. How he had been ranting about killing Roman and distributing his wealth to the poor. Roman looked toward the forest. Somewhere in those trees, a madman was watching. Probably disappointed the bear delivery had not finished the job. Not a single one of them escapes, Roman said quietly. His right arm was still tingling from the bowstring. Bear blood was pooling at his feet. He was thinking about how to hunt a madman. He split his forces. Aaron took a squad and swept west. Green grabbed Dota and went tracking Borg. Roman kept a group with him and pushed deeper into the forest. Green and Dota made a solid team. Dota's tracking skill was the real deal. Broken twigs, displaced leaves, crushed debris. He read the forest floor like a book. Someone passed through here agitated, kept looking around, sloppy trail. Borg the maniac was out there somewhere, probably muttering about dragons and injustice. Green, being Green, asked Dota, so, can you beat this legendary bandit? Dota gave him a look. Can you? Green grinned. I heard Borg was maybe tier 3 or 4 back in his prime. And that was 20 years before I was even born. So he has had a 20-year head start to become worthy of fighting me. Hopefully he used that time wisely. Dota's eye twitched. This man's confidence was a medical condition. But Green was not stupid about it. I can handle him one-on-one. But he knows this mountain, and I do not. That is where you come in. Keep me from walking into traps. Fair enough. They disappeared into the woods together. Meanwhile, Borg was stumbling through the forest like a broken toy, muttering to himself. Kill the dragon, kill all the dragons. Once the dragon dies, everything will be fine. The bear had not worked. He was getting more unhinged, more dangerous. And that was when the situation Roman stumbled into personally had already begun. Aaron had found the witches first. He positioned himself in front of Shasta and the girl Gwyneth, the missing witch everyone had been looking for, and delivered his line with maximum stoneface energy. Lord's orders, nobody leaves. Shasta had apparently just killed an 800-pound magical deer with 2 short swords. And witch magic. She was not in the mood for a roadblock. Move, she snarled. You are what? Tier 1, Tier 2. You have not even reached your peak. I have killed Tier 5 knights. Aaron, completely unmoved. You are strong, but you cannot defy the Lord's command. We will enforce the law. Spears rose from the bushes all around them. Hunters knocked arrows. The message was clear. She was surrounded. Shasta crossed her blood-stained short swords over her chest. Black smoke billowed from the blades, swirling like something out of a nightmare. Want to test my swords? And that is when she felt it. that hair-raising sensation of being targeted. She looked up through the dense canopy. On higher ground, barely visible through the trees, a silhouette, tall, strong, drawing a massive bow, a diamond-tipped arrow aimed directly at her skull, glinting in filtered light. That was Roman. Want to test my arrow? Look, Roman did not have perfect information here. All he knew was Aaron had found two unknowns, one radiating enough killing intent to make the air taste like metal, waving around smoke-enchanted swords and threatening his knight. Behind the scary swordwoman, a small terrified girl clutching herself and crying. That must be Gwyneth. Everything clicked together. The mysterious witch in Skag Town at night, Maury's nervous wedding, the search for someone in the mountains. It was all connected. But right now, explanations could wait. Roman had a 200-pound legendary bow aimed at a woman who had just claimed she killed Tier 5 Transcendence. His knight was one wrong move from a bloodbath. And somewhere behind him, a lunatic bandit was trying to summon more drugged-up wildlife. Shasta stared up. Roman stared down. The forest was dead silent except for Gwyneth's sobbing and the distant echo of beast, still rampaging deeper in the mountains. Nobody moved. This was fine. Totally normal Tuesday in Skag Town. Roman put the bow away, not out of friendliness. That thing weighed over 100 pounds at full draw. You could not hold a negotiation while one arm deadlifting a refrigerator. A witch coming to my land to kidnap my people. You must be tired of living. Shasta fired back. This child is also a witch. I do not care if she is a witch, a fairy, or a talking horse. Everything on my territory is my property. And you want to take my property. Shasta laughed bitterly. Oh, you would accept a witch as your subject? Great. I will invite the entire witch forest to visit. Are you threatening me? You started the jokes, Roman Crackscale. Let my sister and me leave or I will have the witch forest tear this place apart. He did not buy her bluff for a second. The witch forest was a secret society spending its existence running from church inquisitors. If they had the guts to mobilize an army over every missing member, they would have been discovered and exterminated decades ago. But let me explain why Roman was being so stubborn about this particular child. The moment he had seen Dota in person and confirmed that apostles were drawn from real people in his territory, everything clicked. His gotcha pool pulled from his own population. Higher star ratings meant rarer and more talented individuals. Aaron for stars. Green, 3 stars. Both among the best fighters of their generation. Dota, to stars. Decent hunter. Above average. Everyone else, 1 star. Regular folks. Now consider, witches were extraordinarily rare. A spontaneous supernatural awakening in a random girl. That was lottery tier genetics. Gwyneth was almost certainly a high-star apostle. Possibly the highest in his entire territory. Maybe even higher than Aaron. Let this woman walk away with his potential 6-star over his decomposing body. The meat stays in the pot. The riches stay in the family. You have no right to negotiate with me, he told Shasta. My people stay on my land. Non-negotiable. Shasta's whole body started smoking. You think being a lord makes you stronger than high-tier knights? If you are confident you can kill everyone here, why have you not done it already? People would just think we died to the beasts. She flinched, because he was right. She could not kill all of them without witnesses escaping. And if even one person reported a witch murdering a Crackscale heir, it would not just be the church hunting them. The nobles would join in. 2 of the most powerful forces on this continent who normally hated each other would unite to destroy the witch forest. Game over. She knew it. He knew she knew it. But she was still wrestling with herself. Her grip on those smoky swords kept tightening. She was calculating escape angles. Could she grab Gwyneth and vanish before Aaron's shield caught her? Could she outrun arrows through dense forest? Aaron stepped in front of Roman, shield raised, perfect defensive posture, his human wall. Meanwhile, Shasta was imagining horrific scenarios about what a depraved noble might do with a young girl. She had Roman pegged as a medieval monster. In her mind, leaving Gwyneth with him was condemning the child to unspeakable things. Lady, Roman just wanted to add her to his roster. His gotcha roster. This was about stats and star ratings. He was not a villain. He was a gamer. But he could not exactly explain that. The hunters and guards could feel the tension crackling. Some of the hunters were having second thoughts about their brand new loyalty. They had just sworn allegiance, and now they were about to fight a witch. The standoff stretched. Neither side would blink. Then from deep in the mountains, a wolf howl, followed by another, and another. Both Shasta and Roman went slightly pale at the same time. Because somewhere in those trees a cackling madman was screaming, "Kill the dragon, kill them all." Borg was still out there, and he was sending more drugged-up magical beasts their way. A whole pack of magical wolves, each 1 meters long and weighing 200 pounds. The moment for negotiation had collapsed into chaos. Shasta tried to bolt with Gwyneth. Roman stepped out from behind Aaron's shield and went full ice cold. "You leave, I kill Gwyneth." Yeah, he said it. He was not proud of it. But here was his math: if Shasta ran with the girl, she and her witch smoke disappeared into the forest while his men got turned into wolf food. His people dying so she could escape? Absolutely not. "I will not aim at you," he told her. "I will aim at the girl. And every hunter here will shoot with me." Shasta was shaking with rage, but she agreed, because what choice did she have? 2 options, Roman shouted. "We both die or we fight together and nobody dies. Pick." She picked fight. He went into commander mode. Hunter spread out for free fire. Shield guards up front as a wall. Aaron guarding Gwyneth in the back with orders to hold the line. He barely got to sentences of strategy out before the wolves hit them. They were smart. They saw the shield wall and did not charge it. They flanked left and right through the dense trees like gray ghost. Terrain that slowed humans to a crawl, meaning nothing to them. Reinforced the flanks. Roman was already drawing the bow. He fired, aimed for center mass, hit a back leg instead. But the arrow's power was so absurd it blew the leg clean through, and the wolf tumbled howling into the undergrowth. 1 down. The biggest wolf came from the right. Shasta, credit where it was due, launched herself into the air, wrapped her foot in black smoke, and drop-kicked at mid-leap. Both crashed to the ground. She was back up instantly. The wolf was too. They went at each other like two blenders set to murder. Then one lunged at Roman. He flipped the bow around from ranged weapon to blunt instrument and smashed a full-grown wolf. So hard it went airborne. 30 pounds of enchanted bloodwood to the skull would ruin anyone's day. A second wolf pounced. Roman jammed the bow sideways like a shield. Its head slipped between the string and frame, and it bit down on his ribs. His hunting clothes held. The teeth did not get through. He looked down at this wolf clamped onto his torso, felt nothing but cold annoyance, and twisted the bow with raw strength. The bowstring, sea monster sinew. Remember, sawed through the wolf's throat like a wire through bread. Fur, skin, windpipe, severed. Hot blood sprayed across half his body. Roman dropped the twitching corpse and surveyed the battlefield. It was bad. His guards were getting demolished. 5 or 6 already down. Every wolf had arrows sticking from it, but none were lethal, just enough to make them angrier. He was cursing himself for sending Green and Dodo away when he heard another howl, close, from a different direction. The pack wolves held back. The alpha had not even entered the fight. They had been fighting the support team. His blood ran cold. Aaron started moving toward him, ready to grab Roman and run. Then the alpha's howl turned into a scream of pain. Someone had attacked it. The wolves started retreating from the tree line. A figure burst out swinging a longsword. He cut down the first fleeing wolf in a single stroke, caught a second, killed it just as fast. His sword work was brutal, efficient, decades of muscle memory in every swing. But that was not Green. Wrong fighting style, too much savage power behind each cut. Then little Gwyneth broke free from Aaron and sprinted toward him. Uncle Dick. Dick the traitor knight, the man who killed the noble he served, hunted by every aristocrat in the land. He had just saved Roman's life. And the little witch girl he had been secretly protecting in the mountains just called him uncle. The battle ended in under 3 minutes total, but felt like 3 hours. Roman was gasping, drenched in wolf blood from the chest down, arms trembling from overexertion. Dick walked toward them, messy hair, stubble, weathered face, ruggedly formidable in a way that screamed, "I have seen some things and killed most of them." Despite looking like a homeless veteran, his presence radiated serious combat experience. He was probably one of the most skilled fighters Roman had ever stood next to. "Dick, thanks for saving us. So how about you swear loyalty to me?" The man looked at Roman like he had suggested skydiving off a cliff. "I am Dick the traitor. I killed my own lord. There is nowhere on this continent that would have me." Roman spread his hands and grinned. "Then let me be that place." Dick stared. Roman could literally see the internal calculation happening behind his eyes. This kid is covered in wolf blood, smiling like he is at a garden party, offering me a home. Does he not understand I murder employers? Is he suicidal? Is this a trap? He wanted it, badly. A decade of running, hiding, sleeping in mountain dirt, and someone had just casually offered him a front door. Before Roman could close the deal, another figure walked from the tree line carrying a severed wolf head by the scruff, just holding it like a grocery bag. The deserter, Jet, plain-looking guy, medium build, leather armor so filthy it had probably achieved sentience. Expression 0, emotion -0. He had killed the alpha wolf solo without a scratch, at minimum a tier to transcendent. Stronger than Aaron in raw combat. Hey Jet, nice work. Want a job? Dick gave Roman the most betrayed look possible. You say that to everyone. Yeah, I am recruiting. It is what I do. I see a strong person, I offer employment. I am the world's most aggressive recruitment department. Jet's answer was refreshingly blunt. No. Roman countered, you sure? I could have you killed. Jet took a step back. Then I would run somewhere else. Points for honesty. Then Shasta cut in. I helped you kill those wolves. Now let Gwyneth go with me. Roman glanced at her sideways. When did I agree to that? Her jaw clenched. She had helped. Without her taking on 2 wolves simultaneously, his guards would have lost half their number. But a deal was a deal, and they never made one. Then more came crashing through the bushes, 3 lightly wounded guards behind him, having apparently dragged his 200-pound body through mountain terrain to bring reinforcements when he heard the wolf howls. For a coward who was terrified of everything, that took real guts. The man had passed his test today. Moore's face lit up seeing Roman alive. Then he spotted Dick and Jet, and his smile went stiff. Then he saw the ragged girl behind Dick, and his smile flatlined completely. He recognized Gwyneth. The local farm official knew his townspeople. Gwyneth recognized him too, and pressed deeper behind Dick like she was trying to merge with his spine. I sighed. Let us discuss who Gwyneth goes with. She comes with me, Shasta declared. Roman thought for a moment. He could not afford a fight. His forces were wrecked. Dick and Jet might not side with him. Shasta could probably escape alone even if she could not take the girl. Fine. Let Gwyneth decide for herself. Everyone turned to look at a terrified, filthy, malnourished 12-year-old girl who had been living alone in the wilderness for 2 years. Gwyneth, Shasta said softly, will you come with me? The girl looked at Shasta, then at Roman, then desperately at Dick, who turned his face away. Then at Jet, who also looked away. They were giving her the choice, no safety nets. Standing in a blood-soaked clearing surrounded by wolf corpses and strangers arguing over her future. Gwyneth's whole life seemed to flash behind her eyes. Roman learned the details much later. How her powers had awakened and things started breaking around her. House walls collapsing. Her father's legs snapping, oxen going berserk. How she cried to her mother. And how her father screamed that she was cursed. How, on a freezing night, her mother hugged her one last time, hung a bag of peas around her neck. The family's food for 3 days given to the daughter they were losing, and pushed her into the darkness. Go to the mountain. Never come back down. 2 years alone, eating rabbits that ran into trees, wild berries, mushrooms she hoped were not poisonous. She would have died that first winter if Dick had not given her a bearskin, if Jet had not brought meat, if Garland had not treated her illnesses. Every single day, starving and freezing and alone, she had never gone home, because her mother said do not come down. And now everyone was asking, what do you want? Gwyneth looked up. Tears were streaming down her dirty face, cutting clean little tracks through the grime. For a moment, that filthy broken little face almost looked bright. She said, I want to go home. The entire clearing went quiet. Shasta's face crumbled. Dick closed his eyes. Even Roman felt something crack inside his chest that he was not expecting. He was a reincarnated gamer building a farming empire with a gacha system in his brain. He had calculated this girl's value and star ratings and strategic potential. But right then she was just a kid who missed her mom. Damn it. Looks like I win, Roman told Shasta. Gwyneth did not pick her. Did not pick him either. She picked home. But home was in Skagtown, which was on his land. Which meant, scoreboard says Roman 1, Smoke Lady 0. Shasta looked like she had swallowed something sideways. If you had made proper promises earlier, I might not have fought you over her, she muttered. So Roman made a promise. A big one. He swore a noble covenant in the name of Crackscale. Gwyneth will suffer no persecution on my land. If the church finds her, I will not surrender her. As long as she serves me faithfully and does not betray me, I will protect her for life. No disgrace, no betrayal. Unconditional. A noble covenant was essentially a magical contract. Break it and the king stripped you of everything. Title, land, power, dignity. For a noble, breaking a covenant was worse than death. Roman meant every word, though he also noted if he eventually pulled Gwyneth's apostle card. This was just baseline employee benefits. He had not even promised her a salary. Shasta was genuinely shocked. That is surprisingly decent for a noble. Then Roman went for the bonus round. Want to work for me too? Absolutely not. The church is hunting you everywhere. You could hide here. Things are about to change. She snapped, then immediately closed her mouth like she had said too much. That set off alarm bells. Change how? She deflected, but Roman filed that slip away. Something big was brewing in the witch world. If you ever need somewhere to hide, Roman told her casually, come find me. Just be sneaky about it. I am not ready to fight the church yet. She stared at him. You are planning to fight the church. Probably sounds insane from her perspective. From his, it was just item number 47 on the to-do list. The casualty report was grim. 3 guards dead, 8 wounded. Combined with the bear fight injuries, his 20-man expedition was essentially halved. He looked toward the distant forest. Still no word from Green. Still hunting Borg out there somewhere. Now the part Roman only pieced together much later. After Shasta left his territory, a giant eagle descended from the sky onto Maury's ship. Not a regular bird, a magical beast big enough to rock the entire vessel when it landed. And it talked. Turns out there was a whole witch hierarchy Roman had no idea about. A prophet witch who used a magic mirror to scan the entire continent for newly awakened witches. A beast witch who rode giant eagles. They had originally come for Gwyneth because the prophet detected her spiritual potential was off every known chart. But here was the real bombshell. The witches were planning something called Operation Godkill. The witch forest was not hiding anymore. They were going on the offensive against the church, against whatever gods the church drew power from. And somewhere in the northern lands, a new witch had just awakened with spiritual power so extraordinary that the prophet called her a miracle individual. Every available witch was scrambling north to find her first. Problem, the church had sensed it too. They were sending a 6-tier Dawn Knight named Curtain plus 50 Witch Hunter Knights, a kill squad racing the witches to get to this miracle girl before them. So, while Roman was down here composting manure and redesigning plows, the fate of witches versus gods was being decided somewhere up north. And the girl he had just sworn to protect, with a noble covenant, belonged to a species about to declare war on heaven. Cool, great, completely normal. He was sure this would not affect his farming schedule at all. Day 10. Morning fog. Breakfast at Origin Estate. Roman sat at the head of the table with Aaron Green and his newest addition, Gwyneth, officially promoted to personal attendant. Sith's team had grabbed her the previous evening, power washed her like a muddy carriage, stuffed her in borrowed clothes, and shoved her into a room. They fed her porridge, salted meat, and bread for dinner. She told Roman later it was the best meal of her entire life. Now she was sitting at his table, staring at white bread, fried deer steak, roasted boar bear stew, thick vegetable soup, like someone had opened the gates of paradise and accidentally let her in. Her nostrils were doing this tiny fluttering thing, trying to smell everything without anyone noticing. Her hands were in her lap, fingers twitching toward the food, touching nothing because nobody had said she could. Can I eat? Is this for me? Is this a test? Will they hit me? It looks so good. Please. The internal struggle played across her face like an open book. Gwyneth, Roman said. No response. She was in full food hypnosis. He said her name again. She launched out of her chair like a startled squirrel, nearly face-planted into the table edge, and was only saved by Green's ninja reflexes grabbing the back of her neck and placing her upright, like a kitten being scruffed. How old are you? She blinked, held up her hands and started wiggling fingers like she was doing mental arithmetic on an invisible piano. 10, no, 11. She did not know her own age. About 1.3 meters tall, roughly 4 feet 3 inches, messy black hair, big brown deer eyes, cheeks so sunken they cast shadows, arms like twigs. She looked like a skeleton wearing a child costume. You know who I am, right? You are the Lord, sir. Good. You are my attendant now. That means you stay near me. I eat this. You eat this. Go ahead. She sat down, processing. Then, no fork, no knife, no hesitation. Her hand shot out like a striking cobra, snatched a white bread roll, and crammed it into her mouth hole. Both cheeks ballooned out. She looked like a chipmunk who had just robbed a bakery. Aaron silently pushed his glass of milk toward her plate. Good man. Scythe materialized beside Roman, clearly horrified by the table manners situation. Reaching out to intervene, Roman blocked him with his arm. Let her eat. We will teach her how to hold a fork when she is not starving anymore. After breakfast, they rode to Skagtown. The composting operation was running smoothly. Over 30 tons of fertilizer piled up already. Amazing what happened when you mobilized an entire population and paid them in lunch and wheat. Bonuses. Moore met Roman at the entrance with terrified people shuffling behind him. My lord. This is Hard Novak and Seema Novak, Gwyneth Novak's parents. The moment Hard saw Gwyneth, he collapsed to his knees. Noble lord, please. That devil is not my daughter. Do not burn us alive. Gwyneth's face lit up when she first spotted them, then went dark like someone had blown out a candle. Her own father was disowning her again. To her face while she stood right there. Gwyneth is my attendant now, Roman said flatly. Starting today, when you see her, you see me. Understood. Hard survival instinct kicked in instantly. If the Lord had claimed the witch girl, the church could not touch the family. His face flipped from terror to groveling gratitude so fast Roman almost got whiplash. Then Seema spoke up. My lord, a few nights ago, a witch came to our home. Hard yanked her arm desperately. Shut up, woman. But Seema pushed through and told Roman about Shasta's nighttime visit. I already know, Roman said. Do not spread this. Go back to work. Hard grabbed his wife and fled like someone had lit his pants on fire. But as Seema turned to leave, she looked back at Gwyneth. Her expression was complicated: guilt, love, fear, relief, all tangled up in a mother's face that could not say what it wanted to say in front of the man who owned everything. Gwyneth watched her mother walk away with eyes that had too much understanding. For an 11-year-old, Roman said nothing. Some things were not his to fix. Not yet. But he silently added, reunite this family without anyone getting burned alive, to his ever-growing to-do list. Somewhere between build the irrigation system and overthrow the existing world order. Just another Tuesday. Now let me tell you about Gwyneth's powers. Because they were hilarious and terrifying in equal measure. She radiated bad luck. Not on purpose. She could not control it. Could not even tell which disasters were her fault and which were just regular medieval misery. After she awakened, her family got hit with everything. Broken bones, collapsing buildings, livestock going berserk. Like living inside a slapstick comedy where nobody was laughing. Did Roman blame her parents for sending her away? Honestly, no. A poor family had zero ability to absorb bad luck. One broken leg meant nobody farmed. Nobody farmed meant no food. They were drowning and Gwyneth was an anchor. It was awful, but he understood it. Here was his theory though. She did not just have doom powers. She also had luck powers. How else did an 11-year-old survive 2 years alone in monster-infested mountains? She conveniently found dead rabbits. Edible mushrooms appeared. Non-poisonous berries were always nearby. No predator ever found her shelter. That was not survival skill. That was statistical impossibility. The kid was a walking coin flip. Heads, your house collapses. Tails, a rabbit commits suicide into your dinner plate. As a transcendent, Roman could tank her bad luck. Worst-case scenarios were things like broken legs and structural failures, and those needed the right conditions. His estate was not going to explode because a 12-year-old looked at it wrong. Besides, he had noticed something interesting in the mountains. When Shasta and he were seconds from fighting, a wolf pack appeared out of nowhere and interrupted them. Coincidence? Or had Gwyneth's powers unconsciously prevented a bloodbath? No proof, but suspicious. Now to the real excitement of the day. The heavy plows were ready. Roman visited the smithy. 8 or 9 workers crammed inside hammering like maniacs. So packed they were basically forging while performing a group hug. For heavy plows completed so far. Slow, but getting faster. Roman told Lax to speed up. Lax had not slept in 3 days. He nodded and prepared for another all-nighter. Roman ordered extra meat rations for all forge workers. 1 pound of wild boar per meal. Shasta killed that boar. Might as well put it to good use. Then Roman loaded up all for plows, grabbed 6 oxen, and headed out to find the perfect farmland. He rode ahead on his horse, scanning the landscape. Aaron and Green drove the ox carts behind. Gwyneth sat on the cart next to the plows, bouncing along like a tiny package of doom and fortune. Green whispered to Aaron, "Want to bet what happens next?" Aaron, without looking up, "I bet we are about to plow fields." Green, "That ruins the entire point of betting." Aaron, "So no bet." Green rolled his eyes. Roman found the spot, a vast flat area north of Skag Town. Previously farmed and rested multiple times, soil level and clear of most rocks and roots. He jumped off his horse, dug into the earth, crumbled the deep soil between his fingers, dark, slightly yellow-rich, perfect. He yoked the oxen together, hitched the heavy plow, and drove it into the ground. The result was beautiful. The vertical blades split the wet, heavy clay like butter. Deep furrows of dark soil rolling over. Grass roots sheared clean. Compacted earth broken apart. Everything the light plow could not do. This monster handled without effort. He told his knights to plow east for 1 kilometer, then north for 1.3 kilometers. Green pointed at himself in disbelief. "Me? Yes, you, the mighty combat knight, grab a plow. Become a farmer. This is your life now." "Other knights would judge me," Green protested. "Which other knights? We are in the most remote basin in the entire kingdom. Who is going to see you?" "The squirrels." Roman paired them together on 1 plow while he took another. Since neither knight had farming experience, Aaron accepted his fate with silent dignity. Green accepted his with dramatic, very loud suffering. And Gwyneth sat on the cart watching three warriors argue about dirt, probably wondering if this whole civilization thing was really an upgrade from eating mountain mushrooms alone. Spoiler, it was. The mushrooms did not come with bear stew. No lunch until you finish, Roman told Green, and Aaron, Green wilted like a flower in a drought. The man's entire motivation system ran on food. Threatened his meals, and he became the most obedient knight in recorded history. He started muttering while hitching up the oxen. Other lords feed their knights white bread and roasted meat. Other knights get to fight battles and win glory. I am out here plowing fields like a peasant with a fancy sword. Aaron meanwhile grabbed the plow and worked without a single complaint. That man's acceptance of suffering was almost philosophical. Meanwhile, a small voice piped up from the ox cart. Lord sir, this is for you. Gwyneth was holding up both hands full of hazelnuts. She had found them somewhere in the underbrush. Last year's crop, still perfectly preserved. No mold, no moisture damage. She had probably raided some squirrels' entire retirement savings. Roman cracked one open with the axe, popped it in his mouth. Incredible. Crispy, fragrant, rich. He ate the entire handful. Want some? He offered. She looked at her feet, tugging her shirt hem. I used to eat lots of those. 2 years in the mountains. Nuts, berries, and mushrooms had been her main diet. She was not sharing a snack. She was giving him the only currency she had. Roman ate every single one without saying another word about it. She smiled like the sun came out. Then he picked up his axe and went back to work because he had a gathering skill to level, and an emotional moment to pretend had not happened. Last night at dinner, Scythe had warned him, farmers were getting restless. They wanted land. They would even accept 60% tax if Roman just let them farm their own plots the old way. Roman chewed his lamb chop and said nothing. Scythe believed he should go slow. Test the methods on 100 acres. If it worked, expand next year. Safe, sensible. Boring, slow. Roman had not traveled to the edge of civilization to do things safely. He was all in. The table was flipped. No going back. But he should have seen what was coming next morning. He was mid-swing on his 8th tree overall when a male servant came sprinting from the estate, in full panic mode. My lord, trouble. Roman jogged back to Origin Estate, and saw it immediately. Several hundred farmers had marched to the base of his hill, and formed a mob. His guards had thrown up a spear line to block them. Aaron and Green stood in full armor at the front. 2 metal statues radiating. Do not even think about it. There was blood on the ground. Someone had already tried something stupid. Moore and his managers were hiding behind everything solid they could find. Absolutely useless. But Scythe, old, uptight, etiquette-obsessed Scythe, was standing directly in front of the crowd, back straight, lecturing them about proper conduct, alone, unarmed, outnumbered by hundreds. That magnificent, rigid lunatic. Roman was giving him a raise. In his heart at least. He could not actually afford raises. When Roman appeared at the top of the slope, the crowd surged forward. Aaron stepped up, shield raised like a stone wall against the tide. What are you doing? Roman shouted. Silence. Every eye locked on him. The front line was a row of old farmers, trembling but determined. One spoke up. Lord sir, we need land. Denied. The crowd churned. The land you have marked for farming is too small. We need more. So they had figured it out. They had looked at Roman's 2,000-acre rectangle and done the math their grandfathers would have done. Not enough. Not by their experience, not by their calculations. In their world, 2,000 acres for 2,000 people meant mass starvation. They did not know about deep plowing, composting, seed selection, or that one properly farmed acre could produce what 5 of their garbage acres could not. All they saw was tiny field, big population, dead children. The old farmer's voice was small, humble, but iron underneath. We need land distribution. It is the only way we will not starve. Even if you raise taxes, we will accept it. Did you do your work today? How much fertilizer did you pile? How many acres did you plow? He shook his head. Lord sir, we beg your mercy. We cannot see any hope of survival. These people were not being greedy. They were not rebelling. They were terrified. Parents looking at their children and seeing winter starvation. That was not something you could lecture away. But Roman also could not back down. If he gave them land, his entire plan collapsed. The workforce scattering across 10,000 acres of garbage farmland. Nobody working the optimized fields. Nobody building infrastructure. 10 days of work becoming worthless. He looked down at hundreds of frightened, desperate faces and said the only thing he could think of. Tell me, what would make you obey? The old farmer at the front spoke with a voice like cracked earth. Lord sir, you took all our land. You broke every agreement. We do not know how to survive. Farmers cannot exist without land, just as you and your knights cannot exist without white bread. You will not pay land taxes anymore, Roman said. You will never go hungry again. I have more than enough ways to feed you. You just have to obey. That is the only thing I am asking. He shook his head. I cannot believe that, my lord. How can 1,000 acres feed all of us? And then he laid out the most rational, devastating argument anyone had thrown at Roman since he arrived. We know what 1 acre produces. We know what 1,000 acres produces. Your heavy plows are impressive, but their results are unknown. We trust our own hands more. We can feed you and ourselves if you just give us the chance. You have been kind. You fed us porridge. You work alongside us. You plow better than any of us. But grain has limits. When the food runs out, you can leave this land. Can we? He was right from their perspective. This was insane. 2,000 acres for 2,000 people using techniques they had never seen, promising results that had never existed in their world. Roman was asking them to bet their children's lives on his word alone. So, you refuse to obey, he said. We only want land, my lord. Your promise is too impossible to believe. Then those who oppose me, step forward. The old farmer paused for 1 second, then stepped forward. Others followed, one by one. 13 people total. The rest did not move. They watched and prayed Roman would back down. Roman took Green's great sword, mountain copper and steel, over 10 pounds, meant for the hands. He spun it and won. These 13 were the oldest farmers in Skag Town, 40, 50 years old. Ancient by medieval standards, they had spent entire lives reading soil and sky, and they knew with bone-deep certainty that what Roman was attempting was impossible. As long as they lived, they would keep organizing resistance, keep pulling others into defiance, keep burning precious days Roman could not afford to lose. The old man saw the sword. He knew what was coming. His body trembled, but for the first time in his life, he straightened the spine that decades of labor had bent. Roman ran him through. Then the next. Then the next. None of them fought back. They fell like old oxen, 13 bodies on the grass. A young dark-skinned farmer pushed through the crowd and fell to his knees beside the first body, sobbing, holding the old man who was already growing cold. What is your name? Roman asked. Barrow. This was my father. Matthew Barrow, one-star apostle. Pulled days ago from the gotcha pool without knowing which face it belonged to. Now Roman knew. He tried to talk his father out of this, Barrow said. But the old man had been certain. Someone had to stand up. Even if the only thing waiting was a blade. Someone had to make the Lord hear them. He succeeded. It cost everything. Barrow, I am promoting you to agricultural manager. You will work with more to farm that land, and you will see with your own eyes what your father could not dare to imagine. Roman turned to the crowd, every face frozen, every breath held. Obey me, support me, serve me. Give me your lives, as small and ordinary as they are, and I will protect you forever. If in this year, next year, or any year until my last day as Lord, I let a single one of you starve, I release the sword. He drove it point first into the earth, blade still wet, burying it in the grass up to the cross guard, then pulled his sword out and put it through my chest. He turned and walked away. The sword remained standing in the ground where he left it. Let it stay. Let it rest. Let everyone who walked past it remember what he promised. 13 people died because the world they lived in could not conceive of the world he was trying to build. They were not wrong to be afraid. They were not stupid. That old man was braver than most knights Roman had ever met. And the sword still stands in the earth, rusting in the rain, not as a monument to what Roman did, but as a promise to what he will become, or a debt he will pay with his own chest if he fails.